But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Good morning and welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 118 and we are going to be talking about employment and jobs. But before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel. We got Dave from Den, who's he's now a smart infrastructural specialist.
Sound it out. It's
Smart
there.
Infrastructure specialist.
Make sure you put the syllables in the right.
We've got Litecoin Lisa joining us as always, and we've got Satoshi Sean is back. He's back joining us. We can't be happier to have him back. How you doing, Sean?
Better, a lot better. Good to be here.
You look better.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
So first, a quick update on last week. Each host from last week is going to receive 200 lot. Each topic contributor from last week is going to receive 50 lot. Last week's theme was blockchain as a solution for economic immigration, nominated by Darox, and they are going to receive 50 lot. As a reminder, these tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. And we have a World Blockchain Roundtable DAO to talk about. We have our September themes. Let's see here. Yeah, let us know what you're excited about in the chat if you go and look at it. Any of these look extra exciting to our panel?
I mean, I like the game Grand Theft Auto. I don't know about it, how that's going to play into a topic, but
I'm voting for that. I'm going to use whatever lot I have for Grand Theft Auto 6 because I like the idea of pitching on something that doesn't exist, right?
You know how you can sell drugs better in a video game? With blockchain.
What are they talking about, layer 1 versus layer 0?
Yeah, I saw layer 0 mentioned recently too, and I got to go look into, what there's the layers are murky anyway, depending on who's telling the story.
It's in the mind.
In your mind.
Thinking about a layer. It's not there yet. You're thinking about it.
Yeah,
I've heard of layer 1 and layer 2, but I've never heard of layer 0.
Oh, so in the chat, that's right. I think that the GTA 6 one was, I think I remember Jacob Wayne talking about that, where it could be something that, so GTA has like an economy. GTA 6 is supposed to have this modeled out economy. And so could you use blockchain or cryptocurrency to make it better? I get it. Maybe I'll vote for it even harder now that I get it.
Gotta keep track of how many hookers you killed.
Gotta keep track.
We're changing that. Gotta make it immutable.
I like so.
I guess I would. Oh, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Mine was a video game rant. I thought there's a video game I play, and every time you get a kill, you get gold, which to me is crazy. Because like, how are you just constantly looting bodies, and they all have the same amount of gold? And then it was explained that when you kill something or when you accomplish a little goal, you get gold for it because it shows your value and your contribution. So really, you're just getting paid out.
So it's proof of work.
Yeah, contributing, and then that money goes to the armory or whatever, and then you go there to buy stuff. So in my mind, in Grand Theft Auto, when you, as Sean mentioned, kill a hooker, and you get paid out for it, that's just you contributing to society somehow. But
in that universe, that's your contribution. Yeah, that's the value of it.
Or you're killing everyone's communist place, so everyone has the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It is a cool idea, though, to take the sort of like arbitrary free minting of in-game currency away and make it actually have some sort of like system where there's scarcity in the currency. Like I remember I used to buy WoW gold on eBay, which the SEC somehow said was fine, because we didn't call it cryptocurrency, but it was the same shit. So it's interesting. We'll see how that goes.
Anyway, great. Anything else we're excited about?
I'm more excited about the securing the Internet of Things with blockchain AI, because that's, to me, sounds like tokenizing real world assets, and that gets into Veritasium IP, all that kind of fun stuff that I'm excited about. So
The blockchain education thing sounds neat, especially if you like use NFTs.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. The back to school idea, how blockchain can change education.
Very timely as well.
Yeah, apparently there's always a need for funding. There's never just give all the cryptocurrency to schools. That's what you can do.
If that gets picked, it'll be our first child safe episode to watch. We'll make it just perfect for children. Look at blockchain, how it can help you. Great. Well, let's get into our questions now. We have a whole bunch of questions. We're going to try to get through them. We'll do the best we can. Our first question comes from Jacob Wayne. He says, Hi, Jacob Wayne. I'm still watching the show nearly every week, but I feel like I haven't asked a question in a spell. Blockchain can revolutionize the workforce in every aspect, including hiring, paychecks, tasks, tracking, clocking in, pay raises, etc., but it has yet to be adopted. What do you think would be the single most important gear in a company's machine that would allow for adoption? For example, tracking inflow of source material and outflow of finished products on a blockchain would be a great one. Dave, you're about to go create smart infrastructures, right?
True story.
So you're going to be making all the TVs that we use, our Alexas, stuff like that. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's more the infrastructure that runs your TVs and your Alexas and things like that. Stuff you can plug Alexa into. But yeah, I don't know. It depends on what kind of business you are, obviously. I'm a fan because of how much I've been involved with DIN and the different behavior systems and stuff. I'm a fan of applying blockchain as sort of like a reward system to employees where I've worked for several companies where, for example, you have a service fleet and people waste a lot of fuel for whatever reason, which is typically fine as long as they get the job done. But you could incentivize them to take more fuel efficient routes and not waste that fuel and give them a reward token or something. Little like simple things like that where you can start incentivizing the behavior you want to see with your employees, instead of like currently there's sort of like if you do too much of it, you get punished, and that's the primary way that companies like to manage their fleets and stuff. Or like Jacob Wayne said, with supply chain and stuff like that, there's huge inefficiencies in there with just how you route things, whether it's like the traveling salesman problem that I've seen explained, where the more locations you have to route through, the more options you have of how to do it, and eventually it becomes too big of a problem. With blockchain and AI specifically, you could like condense that into a manageable more cost efficient savings. So that's maybe a little bit less specific than I could have been, but really it's about doing things more efficiently. Even like finding the right employee to hire, or if you're an employee, finding the right company to work for. Job hunting sucks, and it's difficult to match skill sets and resumes to job descriptions and get the right fit. But with blockchain and AI, I think those two are kind of going to have to go hand in hand. You can really do that a lot more accurately and quicker, and I think it's beneficial for both sides of that equation.
Great. Sean, what do you think about this? What would be the single best adoption?
Know why companies haven't moved to blockchain. I know why, like middle management and lower management would not want it. because it shows fraud. It shows padding the books, and all books, whether that's labor or costs, materials, food, if you're in the food service industry, any of those things that make your numbers look bad, you can mess with. And if you're using blockchain, it shows what you're doing. So I can see why. Usually, why it's the same like with everything. Why a nefarious person would not want to move to blockchain, but it would make things so much easier, and for the company itself to track that kind of stuff, fraud, waste, all that. Also, I think one of a big thing is to cut bureaucracy, like especially with automatic things, like, hey, if you work here within 6 months, you get health insurance. Within 10 months, you get your first raise. You don't have to go to your boss and say, hey, it's my 10th month, where's my raise? If you had put smart contracts into that employee's record, like, it would just be instantaneous, and you wouldn't actually need any human to do anything, to submit anything, to fill anything out. Everything would be automatic. It seems like that would be just to automate a lot of the bureaucracy in any kind of corporation. The bigger the corporation, the more you're going to have, the more departments you're going to have, the bigger those departments are, so on and so forth. So I think that would be just streamlining, being able to utilize smart contracts, and make it so you can track more stuff.
Great. And Lisa, what do you think?
I just would agree with both of them, and mostly, in finance and the transparency that it brings to the books, and that can go both ways. I have a friend that has a company called Bitcoin Solutions, or Pro Bitcoin Solutions, and he's able to bring a lot of help for people that are looking for tax solutions, and that can go both ways. Like, he can run the report where it's first in, first out, or he can run it the other way if that's more beneficial to you. So it can, there's different ways to find solutions for your business, but it can all be factual. So
I think the one that I feel like if you just throw a lot of blockchain things at people, they'll start getting scared. Right, because that's kind of like what happens with most things in that realm, right? You start using certain words and like, oh, I'm scared now and I don't know about it. I think the first things to implement is you probably want to make them fun and silly, and they don't really have a whole lot to do with whether or not they get their paycheck, because you know what I mean. So I like the idea of the incentive based thing, kind of as an introduction. It's like, hey, look, we're gonna use this to as a way to track and give you goodie points for whatever it is, and I think that's probably the simplest way to lead people into something slowly before it's hey, hopefully all our information doesn't get wiped, and it's well, I don't understand.
Yeah, and it's something that's simple enough and fun, and you can use it to get a candy bar or something, just as a demonstration.
Yeah,
and it can all happen automatically. All these data points are on chain. You don't have to submit your records. It's all automatic.
Or even just one section of the company using it, maybe just marketing uses it to store their videos and pictures or something, and then that's it.
Well, what marketing should do, I think, is closer to what Sean was talking about and Lisa, which is where you can say, hey, don't take our word for it. When talking to potential customers, sales can leverage this to say, right now, you're trusting companies. They have a reputation. Oh, they wouldn't screw me. They wouldn't lie about the numbers. They wouldn't cheat the data to make it look better on paper just to sell me a product. I'm just going to trust them. That's kind of how everything operates right now.
Yeah.
With this, you can say, hey, don't take our word for it. This was true then, and it's true now, and I can prove that hasn't changed, that this has been the case the whole time. So
yeah, it's impossible.
Competitive,
I don't understand how there can be that many world famous pizza places in New York. You know, I feel like we need some kind of truth to that. So yeah, I think absolutely. Like marketing and something like that is definitely where like probably an easier way to bring people in instead of just throwing everything in the kitchen to get them at the top. Cool. Let's go on to the next question. The next question comes from I am, who in this question is considered an old fart question. Loans often require employment verification. It would be nice if resume validations could be on a blockchain, education, experience, work history, etc. How would blockchain help society with employment verification? Oh, and what about WorldCoin using retina scans? And what if you were listed as a bad employee or warning next to your name because you didn't toe the party line? How would you get off this dystopian list? I love it.
Well, there's a movie about that last part called Gattaca. You should check it out.
Gattaca?
Yeah.
Okay.
Different context, but it's about how you can, well, it's about that. It's a good movie.
Cool. Great. Sean, do you want to kick this one off for us?
No, I want Lisa to go first.
All right, Lisa.
My dog was barking and howling, and I was not listening.
I didn't know that was yours or John's dog. I didn't know whose dog that was.
My dog doesn't bark. She doesn't bark.
Oh, she's perfect.
She lies around and does nothing.
Okay.
And wants to go outside.
Perfect dog.
It's wrong. My dog does it.
Yeah.
My dog
bad.
goes to people's houses and knocks on their door.
That's impressive.
It runs away, and like you'll see her do it, and people open the door and then freak out because she's gotten so big. And then she just walks in. My son was like looking for her the other day, and it's her neighbor like 3 houses down. I was like, hey, come here. Are you looking for something? He's like, yeah, looking for my dog. I was like, he said, oh yeah, I thought so. It's like she's white, big. He goes, yeah, I know. Come here. And he's like, he opens the door. The dog's just sitting on his couch. It's like she knocks on her door, open it, walks right in, goes and sits down.
Part of the family. I love it. All right, Lisa. So how could blockchain help society with employment verification?
So I don't like this part. I just don't like this part of it at all. I'm struggling with the whole dystopian nightmare that we're in right now. So this is not my favorite question. How could it help? Let's be positive. I always like Dave's answer on these kind of things because he helps us break out of the dystopian nightmare thing where he thinks, and I'm now giving Dave's answer, but Sean's passed it to me and now I'm giving Dave's answer. But I like when he says we can have solutions of having multiple identities but we can have anonymity within those identities. So I could have a anonymous identity. So I could have my privacy with an identity, so that I could have a work identity, but it did not expose my private life. Like my work identity was only, my employer only had my work identity and my information that was applicable to my employment. They didn't know anything about my children, my home, my private life. So that's where I think it would be valuable.
I like it.
It's funny you say that about Sean passing it to you and then you leveraging something from me, because I kind of got that from Greg a little bit, who's not here right now.
Okay, there we
go. So it just keeps going, right?
Yeah. It's
ideas all the way down.
I think good for employment verification. That's like a real cost that everyone, no matter the size of the company, it's kind of like the same amount. It's I think it's like $3 to $4 or something like that, $100 for a company to hire someone to do like just a basic background check, drug screening, like just those two little things are like $300 to $400.
Yeah. So
if you had that done, and it was on blockchain, like if you're going back, like they go back like 5 to 7 years. If it was good for 3 years, say 2 years, then they wouldn't have to do that. They would have it like provable on blockchain, was already done. So just like the first company would have to pay that, and if you went somewhere else, you'd have it done. You could keep it updated if you wanted to. If you could like connect that to your, to imagine putting something on blockchain. Once again, if it was like an NFT of your personal NFT of your information, if like every time you went to the doctor, they did a drug screening, and they just put if your results passed or if it was positive or negative, and that would go to your employable identity, then employers wouldn't have to do that. They wouldn't have to do the drug screenings. If you, like I said, if you went to a different job and applied, they wouldn't have to do, pay for certain background checks for like, a lot of like low level stuff. Like you want to make sure that the guy working at McDonald's isn't a serial killer or a rapist or something like that, but you don't have to do like a super secret or top secret kind of clearance. So just all that kind of bottom level background checks, like once they're done, they're good for years. And that would be something that I think that it would be good for.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is sorry, I was cutting in on John. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave. What you got?
Yeah, no, that kind of stuff is exactly the kind of thing. Like, take the white pill and let's forget about the dystopia for a minute. There's so much inefficiency in that whole process. I've gone through. I just reached over. I realized I have on my desk my high school transcripts. The reason I have these in my hand is because I recently had gone through this background investigation with an employer. Check everything out. And one of the things I had to get was my freaking high school transcripts, which this is like decades ago. You know what I mean? It took forever to get that sent over to me. They couldn't give me an electronic copy. It had to be mailed physically because I went to school in the forest. But
I like the idea that they had to cut down one of their brethren trees to print the paper.
Yeah, they're just not up to speed with the whole computer thing. And not only that, but like the background investigation itself, everything that Sean was talking about, it's so cumbersome and it takes so long and there's so much expense, and time itself, time is money, right? Is valuable. All of that stuff can be streamlined. I went through when I was in the military, when I went through my TSSCI clearance background investigation, they gave me the wrong freaking person's life file. I have a common name. So they sent it home with me to verify, hey, here we're going through your TS clearance. We want to make sure that this is all accurate so that we can, if there's any questions about it. So they gave it to me and took it home to verify. And it was some other person with my name. It was their entire life, all their PPI. I could have signed up for credit cards, bank accounts with my ID and their information. So there's so many, not only inefficiencies, but room for human error that can make things just explode everywhere. And we just kind of shamble through it and make it work. Oops, that wasn't supposed to happen. Let's not talk about it. And it just kind of works. So it could definitely be streamlined for businesses, for governments, for society as a whole, to be able to just validate to authenticate something, to give temporary or limited access to a subset of my personal data, to say, hey, employer, here's who I am. You can't have all my data, but here's the shit you care about, and you can verify it's true. And they can be like, oh, cool, seems legit. Welcome. Here's your, day one paycheck.
Wow.
That's what I was thinking too, is instead of having a profile put together by a credit score that's put together by all my past employers, I get to compile my information. Hey, this is where I used to work. This is where I went to college. And here's the link to the chain where it has my credentials at. And so I'm providing that information as opposed to a third party compiler. Because I don't know if anybody's ever tried to get something taken off their credit score because it was, you have a common name and therefore it was applied to the wrong person or whatever it was. It's not fun.
Also, if you had a central, if it was on chain and you had a private key, I think the same thing happened to me that happened to Dave while I was in the hospital. I've had mutual funds through my bank like for years, and I was in the hospital. I wasn't able to work or anything for like over a month, and my bank it was managed by some huge corporation, and they moved it to Charles Schwab, another huge corporation. So I called Schwab for the first time because it was just all moved over. My social security number is in the system. I gave all that, but I don't have an account or anything, So I talked to this person. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the hospital. I need to pull, some money out for bills and stuff. And she said, okay, well, like you have to sit, or she asked what like my password was or something. I was like, I don't know. I set that up, 12 years ago. I don't know what you're talking about. So she said, okay, well, I can ask you a series of questions that are public information, which supposedly I guess they get when your credit or your name or your something, and that all comes up. And I've done that before online. But she asked me like 10 questions, and they're like, did you live here? Have you lived here? Have you lived here? None of the above. Every question was none of the above. Every single one. So I felt weird, like they had the wrong person. And she said, I have to tell you, if we go through this and you try to do this, if you fail it, your account gets locked. And I was like, okay, whatever. Of course I'm not going to fail it. I know who I am. And every single thing was none of the above. That's not me. And she said, no, you failed. Your account's locked. And now you have to go to a branch physically. And I'm like, I just told you I was in the hospital, and it's 108 degrees outside, and the nearest one is San Antonio. I was like, I'm not going to drive. I can't. I'm in the hospital. I can't drive, 100 miles to the big city to go to an office to say, yeah, it's me.
When they've moved your money without your permission.
I said, can you just send a check or something to my the address on the phone? Oh no, your account's locked now. I can't do anything.
That does sound like they had somebody else's info they were trying to match you to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was nothing. Not one question did I. It was weird. Which of these people did you know? Which of these people were you like married to? What is the address did you live at? I mean, nothing. What car did you own? It's like I've never owned any of those cars. I don't know any of those people. It was obviously they had the wrong person, but now my account's locked. And
one of the reasons I'm not totally against microchipping, to be honest with you, if I could have a private key and like an RFID thing in my hand, where I could just be like a Jedi and wave my hand and say, "No, it's me. It's really me." It would just be convenient.
That's so weird too, because like if you were like, I feel like if for a couple of them you were like, "Yeah, that's me," and then a couple others when you're like, "No, that's not me," just trying to guess, that'd be obvious. But if every single question you're like, "That's not me," for 10 questions in a row. Yeah. At a certain point, it's not human error anymore. It's
the wrong guy,
computer
officer.
did something. Oh man, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That sounds awful.
Blockchain could help that.
Yeah, blockchain could help that.
Authenticating data.
I love it. All right, so let's go on to the next question. It's Friday, payday, and I'm broke. Great. I remember hearing about employees could be paid by the minute or 10-minute increments automatically and instantly using blockchain. In other words, you wouldn't have to wait for payday. What would be the benefits and drawbacks if workers were paid in a cryptocurrency automatically and almost immediately? I know transaction fees would be an issue, so Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash might be better options than BTC or Ether. There it is. All right. Sean, do you want to take this one, or we can pass it all the way around to me for this?
In reality, and now, I think it's just really volatility as far as getting paid in cryptocurrency. You'd almost have to get paid, daily, or even like more than one time a day to. And then that just what's the reason why you're doing that? Because of the volatility. So are you just turning it into USDT? Or turning it back into USD. So what's the point in getting paid in crypto if you're doing that anyway? I don't think that we're ready for that now, because just the crypto market in general isn't stable enough. Even Bitcoin. I mean, we're seeing now some of these shifts are, we forgot, that a 30% move within a week is not that weird, up or down. And we're seeing that huge volatility now, and you can't have your livelihood like that. You can't lose 30% on your income 1 week and then it's back the next week, or you make more. It's not okay to have right now. There would be a lot of benefits to that. Just if you've ever worked in like a daily cash or a tips or something where you got that daily income, it does make life a lot easier. You've always got money every day. You never are, even if you have that, your paycheck, like when I worked at Domino's and other pizza places when I was young, and we got tips as drivers, and we also got paid mileage. So every night you left with a bunch of cash in your pocket, and you still had that paycheck every 2 weeks. So you didn't have to worry about gas. You didn't have to worry about money for an emergency or something happen. You always had money in your pocket. And even when I was like an assistant manager or manager, I would do a full open to close, 15-hour day as a driver, 1 day a week, just so I had that cash. Always had that cash from mileage and tips. So that's good about getting paid, immediately, and you can get paid 2-3 times a day, once a day. That's a cool thing about blockchain.
Yeah, and I think that some version, one of the things that I think is really handy about it is even just using these tokens to represent something else. It lets you do really what would be complex splits on pay pretty easily and pretty seamlessly. You could, if somebody preferred that split of some cash daily and some every couple of weeks, you could say, okay, give me, 20% of my pay daily and give me the other 20% every couple of weeks, because I know I'm not good enough managing money. I need somebody else to save it for me for a couple of weeks. Or if I wanted to, think about like 401k contributions, where maybe I want to invest in these stocks or those stocks, and whatever markets or bonds or whatever I want to select, you can probably make that system way more efficient just by representing them, where the employee can say, like, can get paid in these tokens immediately, and then they represent ownership in these stocks or bonds or whatever share of their savings. Some of that could be Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ether or Monero or whatever, and you can just sort of allocate however you want. So you can do all these splitting, like accounting things, pretty efficiently without a whole bunch of overhead and without a whole bunch of concern over the security of it and the safety. A bunch of people like having to go through and follow up to make sure something wasn't cheated, or making sure that the asset existed to be able to allocate and stuff like that. If it's on chain and it's available, it gets allocated, it gets split the way that the employee has said it did. It gets matched by the company the way the contract says it is. And it's all just math and smart contracts, and it happens, and it's awesome.
Okay, so because that was as we were talking through this, or as you guys were talking through this, I was like, we have this big company here in Oklahoma City called Paycom, and they do a bunch of payrolls for tons of companies. And so I was thinking, well, they really couldn't do like daily payouts. Would be really difficult because you have to process all the taxes and 401k payouts and all that kind of stuff. But then when you were explaining it, well, it would already be put together in a smart contract, and so it would happen automatically. If it was already planned out in a smart contract, it wouldn't take a lot of time. So it would be possible to do daily or hourly payouts.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing where it shines, actually, is things that would be
programmed.
too like cumbersome to do realistically, or too time consuming, or need to hire too many people to process it to do realistically. And now you can do it realistically.
Okay.
I think if you don't look at cryptocurrency, just getting paid, if the payroll was on chain, it would make things so much better, because it shows fraud. I mean, everyone commits fraud. You know, like everyone, you try to make things look as good as you can, even if it's not like illegal. You're going to do what you can. Like Trump said, you know, I didn't pay taxes, I didn't do this, but I did everything within the system. Everyone tries to do that. All managers try to do that, especially because the better that you do, usually that's, you know, your bonus is connected to that. My son, which he's learned a lesson, because ever since I was a child, if I worked, I knew what my paycheck would be, you know, before I got it, to like within, you know, a couple bucks. And he has no idea. He just goes to work and gets a check, and that's it. And he works at a Chipotle, and he thought his check was a little low, but then like other employees who actually, you know, keep track of it, they found out the manager was just not paying people for overtime, padding hours,
Oh, wow.
lowering stuff. I mean, they got screwed out of it. Was like months, and you know, they would like lower, and you know, they would think, oh, I'm gonna not pay them for their overtime this week, and I'm taking away some of the others, but I'm gonna put it on tomorrow, because like, you know, it's like the pay period ends Sunday, and it's Saturday, so we're gonna take some hours, and I'll add it here. What?
Just backing up what you were saying. That's all.
They would,
Yeah,
She agrees.
stop it.
it's true though. That kind of thing happens more often than people might think. Like whether it's you know, one of my family members managed a coffee shop, or not managed, but was like a supervisor of a coffee shop up in Colorado, and found out that either the manager or the owner was just taking people's tips, you know, a cut of all the tips and stuff. If things were tipped on chain and then paid out on chain, there would be no opportunity for that fraud to go unnoticed. You could do it still, but it would set off alarm bells and things like that.
Like Joe always says, it doesn't eliminate fraud. We have to catch ourselves, because like there would be no opportunity for it to go, yeah, you know, unseen. But it's like it doesn't end fraud. You know, it was touted like that, I think, you know, in the beginning. It will not end fraud, but it'll make it where you can't hide it as well.
Makes it way harder.
Yeah.
That's the key. We got to stop trying to fix things and just be happy with making them way better.
Yeah, I feel like there is like reasons to not do this from the company's perspective. One, because like sometimes you don't want to pay out your employees on time because you need that cash flow somewhere else. So if you're paying out employees every minute, you're never going to have that cash flow of what you owe them to either put into something else or just having like an account for making money off of it or whatever it is. Right. Like, see, I think
that's more of a moral argument.
Yeah.
It's kind of shitty, because it's like, well, that's not really your money anymore. That's their labor. That's their money that you're holding on to. And I can understand where you're coming from, because they're like, hey, I need this for during the month. But that's what I was talking about. That is everybody commits the fraud.
Well, yes and no. It depends on the type of
during the month for the business, and you're telling yourself, I'm going to give that to them at the end of the month. But that's their money, really. Because they put in the work. But it's not illegal. Yeah. It's because you run the company, you own the company. But technically, it's their money. It's they put the labor in. It's theirs. You know. Yeah,
that doesn't apply to every company and every business though, because like if I'm managing a band and the deal is I get 10% and the drummer gets 20% and the guitarist gets 20%, there's a split. None of us get any money until the venue pays out for the performance. You know what I mean? So when there's things like there's a delay in services versus like getting paid out for it. If I hire you to do a job and I say I'll pay you to do this job, a lot of times there's no money to pay out until the employer gets paid by the customer. And that could also be
if you're managing the band and you've got 3 gigs, you get paid for the first gig, but you're going to pay them once a month. Then you get like $500 you've got from the first gig. And then you use that money to pay for gas, to pay for, equipment that you had. And then, but you're counting on paying everyone at the end of the month with the last 2 gigs. And then one of the last 2 gigs doesn't, backs out. Now you've already spent that money, which you managed it correctly. You used it for gas. You didn't do anything like nefarious.
Yeah.
That was technically their money.
This is where you as a business operator, if your business is managing bands like this, that you have to be competitive with other people that are doing the same job and maybe treating their employees better. Mm-hmm. So maybe some companies can handle paying out immediately like that, and that's a benefit to the employees, to the band members, to whatever, and some can't. This is more of a like organizational, you got to make it work and be competitive and attract the best people. They're going to want to work for you if you can do this.
I think that's like important to think about too, like you were saying, though, like, is that our expenses do come up, and there's a reason why sometimes we don't pay out right away. And like, you know what, that's just kind of the problems with, like, you know, if you're in a band, like, things aren't going to be as stable or as secure as working for a large like corporation that is just much more stable. Hopefully.
I think that's, like I said, it's more of a moral line. It's like a gray line. Because you have that where 100%, it's, you know, I'm in this, I'm managing this. If I paid you guys after the first gig, I'd have to come to you and say, hey, you got to pitch in money to fix this equipment or to do this for gas. Whereas I spent it because I was managing the band. Now it's not there. Where you go to, like, where it's completely legal for an insurance company, for someone, they died, they approved the claim, the widow and the family is supposed to get the money, but they can legally hold it for 6 months, and they do, because they're investing it, and they're going to make, say they make 2% interest or 1% interest on that $100,000 that they're going to send them. That's all they care about, is that they made 1% on that $100,000 versus making that family go through 6 months of not having the income, not having, that person there in the family unit, and that's completely legal. And they look at it as, hey, this is, it's our money. We're just going to legally, we're not doing anything wrong, but it's their money. You've approved the claim, everything's good, it's done, but you can hold on to that money.
Yeah, that's the 1 to 2% that the family could have had. Like, and even with, I was thinking about this because I recently went through something like it, but like, you have like a lawsuit, and like, this is how much your lawsuit's valued, and then it takes 5 years to settle. Well, because of inflation, whatever you got paid for the lawsuit is not valued the same as when you were paying for the services that were rendered to fix you or whatever it is. So it's like, yeah, you held my money for 5 years and I didn't need the money. But on the other hand, like, that's 5 years of investment. That's in 5 years of missed opportunity. That's 5 years of just like inflation. That's kind of screwed my money over.
Yeah. Where's my interest on that free loan I gave you?
Exactly. And then there's no argument.
Even if the court ordered interest, like I have a situation like that, and the court ordered 5 or 6% interest, but we're looking at inflation of 20%. I mean, eggs have had 100% interest.
Can you say, hey, can you turn
inflation
back to $6,000 for me?
Yeah.
That I can go now take, like I said, missed opportunities.
Yeah.
That you can't get back no matter what.
No.
Yeah. And that's what I hate too, is that there's no legal repercussion for that.
No justice.
And that's what I don't understand. I was thinking about the other day when like people get their house raided and then they destroy their house. I'm like, well, what's
like Afro Man's problem with his front gate and his door?
I don't know that one, but
no? Okay.
Like whatever it is, like, yeah, I get it. I got the things that I needed, but there was a lot of bullshit that I had to go through to get here.
Well, I went, and General Flynn was here the other day, a little bit off topic, but General Flynn was here the other day, and I went and watched him speak, and he really talked about, governing locally and taking back our, looking at the Constitution, reading the Constitution, and how much power the sheriff has. And Sean and I have talked about this several times on the show. And then I also, I'm divorced and I have children, and there was a situation one time where I had to talk to my attorney, and I was like, what do I do? And he's like, you might have to talk to the sheriff and have a visit. And I was like, oh, so you take your divorce decree with the sheriff and they enforce it. And so I thought, well, okay, not just when children are involved, but could the sheriff also enforce the other parts of your decree, or other documents or settlements or agreements. Like if you had an agreement, a court order for something, and it was not being followed, could you go to your sheriff and say, hey, there's this court order. Could you please could you help me enforce this?
Yeah, sometimes. Like if you're evicting somebody, the cops can go throw them out of the house if there's an order saying, yeah, it's a legal eviction.
Wasn't that what an order says? Like at the beginning of every court order, this is an order to any law enforcement, constable, officer, deputy in the county of or state of blah blah blah. That blah 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 blah. That's the order.
There's limitations to that too, and this is where like CBDCs and stuff started to get scary because, for example, I got into a lawsuit situation with one of my neighbors, and I won, and it was not a lot of money. It was $500, but he got ordered to like pay my attorney fees and give me $500 and shut up and go away, which was awesome. But I never got any money from him because he just didn't pay me. So the sheriff can't go to the bank and be like, give me this person's money to give to this person. But if there was a CBDC, if there's a central bank digital currency or a fiat digital currency that was on chain with an authority third party that is the government, they could then just transfer from one account to the other based on some judge's court order.
And also think about this. We're complaining about these
or
things,
sheriff.
and we're literally in the best boat out of everyone. I mean, you're talking about, hey, I got this in 5 years, inflation and eggs cost twice as much. Imagine if you had a lawsuit, you're going through the courts, and it took 5 years, and you lived in Venezuela, or you lived in some other country where, you were suing someone for $100,000, and then 5 years later you win, and it's all closed, and you get the $100,000, but it's literally worth 90% less. Just because of that, and that's something that we haven't had to really worry about. Our inflation is terrible. I mean,
it's close.
We look at it like, oh, it's so terrible. Oh my God, this is worth, 75%, of what it was, 3 years ago or 5 years ago. That's a lot better than a lot of other countries have it. And I mean, maybe if you look at that with like some kind of sociology glasses, you can see why there's so much violence, why things go so fast, why there's not a lot of trust in the system, because people, they don't have the luxury of waiting.
This is one of the sort of like I don't know, asshole reasons that I'm not so worried about the collapse of the dollar right now, because yeah, things are going bad, but things are going way worse everywhere else in the world. So it's kind of like, comparatively, we'll be fine. Maybe that's not a healthy way to look at it, but
Very sad.
So, benefits and drawbacks. It sounds like there's benefits and drawbacks to both the employee and the employer. And some of the employer drawbacks, from what we were talking about, sounds like one of the drawbacks is that you get to be a little bit less morally flexible with how you handle your finances in your company. Or you could say that it enforces good, sound business practices or finances. Whether that's a good thing or not depends on how well you're doing, I guess.
Just imagine the idea of living paycheck to paycheck when you're getting paid by the minute.
Yeah.
Like that sounds awful. Oh no.
You get billed and I mean, what's the end result of
going out?
Yeah, the end result of all of this is that you get the bill and it's automatically paid. You don't even have to think about it. The utility company bills your.
Poor people live. Like we have, which a lot of poor people have this because there's no credit checks or anything for like electric and stuff here in Texas. It's prepaid stuff. So you have a little meter in your house, and it shows you have like $18 worth of electricity, and you watch it go, and you have to load money on that.
No shit, that's a thing in Texas.
Yeah, and
really,
because you there's no deposit, there's no anything. You can get
so you're like at an arcade, and you got to feed more bills to the coin thing to be like you can play this many more games.
It cuts off, and it's not like it disconnects, and then you've got to wait. You just got to go down to 7-Eleven or wherever you need load more money on.
You got to go feed the meter. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That is
I can't
I
decide if I like that or not.
I like what I like about it is so in Gainesville they have awful electricity, and it's like the highest in. I think it's probably one of the highest in the country.
area. It's up there.
If it's easily the highest in the state, if not one of the highest in the country, and I like the idea of you having a personal meter that shows that, because they would screw up so often, like your meter and how much you owe for electricity. So if you didn't check your bill every month, you could be like, oh, it's just $500, $600, $700 this month. Oh, I need to actually check and make sure that's correct, because they would just overcharge people like continuously all the time.
Yeah, that's another example of
yeah.
how things are just kind of like done half-assed, and we accept it, where it doesn't have to be that way. There's been times that I've had negative utility bills because they're correcting for a mistake they made. Somebody fat-fingered a number going in, checking the meter kind of thing.
Me and Lisa talked about this, I think this week, that, and I've noticed this, that when it comes to corruption, I've seen that your local water, if it's through your city, everywhere there's some kind of scandal. And whether, because it's the easiest thing in the world to pad or to change or to like legally, you just add
manipulate.
a processing fee, and most people don't even think about, it's $5, $10, and and you could see like my water bill went up $30. Oh, because there was a $30 charge, and you call them like, oh yeah, that's a beautification thing because we're gonna put in new sidewalks downtown.
Yeah, transparency and billing. Great application for
That's not
blockchain
my
stuff.
water. I didn't agree. That's a city tax that you scammed and you just put into,
that's what they're doing in my city right now.
That's what all cities do. That's because corruption. It's the easiest thing in the world. It grows, and that's one of the easiest ways that any kind of city can be corrupt is with the water.
It isn't always corruption. It's sometimes apathy, because typically somebody voted for that at the town hall meeting that nobody showed up to, and then it went through. So having access to these programs and knowing what's going on and being able to vote, authenticate your residency and vote remotely in these things without having to show up in person to voice your opinion could help prevent some of that stuff too. Yeah.
We are starting a group here.
Yeah. I still think that like one of these days, if we have the opportunity to start a town, I'm in, man.
We
got all the people.
I talk about that all the time. That's all I want to do is just go start a town in the middle of North Carolina, up in the mountains. That's it. Just go do that. I've already got it all planned out in my head. It's not a very solid plan, but it's there.
Yeah, every plan needs work. This one needs a lot of work, but
But that's
I actually have a friend with some land somewhere around there that wants to do something like that. So we actually should talk about that.
All right, we'll figure it out. But that would be current events, which we're not talking about on this show. That is next. Current events follows this show, so we can't talk about it yet.
John is the anti-current event.
We got some suggestions coming in already. IM is already prepping for it with some suggestions in chat. So it looks like we got stuff to talk about coming up.
Elon is hiring disinformation stuff for upcoming elections, so they will decide what truth and what is truth and untrue.
Bricks.
Sounds cool. All right, we'll talk about that. Great. We'll talk about whether or not Twitter is a thing, or is it just called X now? I think it's just called X. I don't know.
I think it's one of those things where like they'll try really hard, but the Volkswagen Beetle, the new Beetle, the Volkswagen Beetle.
I haven't seen the new one.
Do they call it something different than a bug or a beetle?
Yeah, it wasn't. That's what everyone calls this car. But I remember when it first came out, it was a Jetta. And they were like, the new Volkswagen Jetta, it looks like the old bug, the old Beetle. And
Are they calling it a Jetta?
That's what they first called it. And then I remember Drew Carey bought one on his show. It was way back then. And he called it the new bug. So everyone just called it, and now that's what they like gave in. They're like, okay, fine, whatever. And I think X is gonna be the same way. He keeps trying, everyone keeps trying, everyone's like, yeah, Twitter.
They're trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to make
Stop
fetch
trying to
happen.
make fetch happen.
Yeah.
Fetch is never going to happen.
All right,
It's
great.
so fetch.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. Dave, anything you'd like to plug or let people know about?
Oh man, I'm unprepared for this question. Somebody else go first.
Everybody just wants to pass it on to the other person.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Lisa, anything you'd like to let people know about?
Yeah, we're still planning on Silver Symposium held by Stock Pulse in Vegas at Caesar's Palace, September 29th through October 1st. I'll be there. Pimpy is going to join me. If you guys know Pimpy from The Other Side of Things on YouTube, he's a big silver bug. David Morgan will be there. Economic Ninja will be there. George from Cryptos R Us, a bunch of big gold, silver people will be there. So it'll be a great time, and hopefully you guys will be there.
Sean, anything you'd like to plug or let people know
about? Just check out me and Lisa on True Tuesdays. Trying to do a crypto meme review this weekend, probably. Not a lot. I'm back. So cool. I missed everybody. But I do appreciate you guys for having that, Sean's morality minute. Taking turns.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping the torch going. I appreciate it. I was watching while I was in the hospital.
Great. I'm glad we can keep you entertained. Dave, anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I'll go now. So next month, so I've been Coffee with Den was a morning show I was doing over on Den, and that's been on hiatus while I reconfigure my life. That's launching again next month, but it's an evening show now. So it'll be like Coffee with Den with beer. I don't know. Something in the evening, something more accessible.
Because he doesn't have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, well, I kind of do. But my hope is that it'll be more accessible for anybody who wants to pop in. Previously, I was doing it basically right when everybody was like doing stuff with their life, going to work, taking the kids to school, that kind of thing. But
I would only show up with like my robe, my pajamas, and big sunglasses on because I didn't have any makeup on.
Yeah, I love the wizard robe. That's always welcome.
Yes.
So we'll be doing it in the evening, starting in September, probably the second week, not the first one, around 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. And so that'll be cool. And I invite anybody who wants to come on and shoot the shit with me to do that, to come on. It'll be a live thing, and we can shoot all the shits together.
Sounds great.
It'll be fun.
And then I can start having cocktails again and have and not be weird. I did that for like a couple months, and somebody called me out on it. It's like, hey, fine. I'll stop drinking at 9 a.m.
Gosh, it was a free country.
No, I kept doing it too, but it was I don't know why. Oh, it's because I was working at the time. So like I had to start my job anyway at 8, so I had to be up at 7:30 anyway. So
you're not making a good argument to drink alcohol. I remember I had to go.
I was gonna say this is not making sense.
Well, that's why I was up so much earlier than the show started.
Someone gonna drive his bus.
It was fine. It was
this
like
is how he coped with work.
I had like half a shot of cream liqueur. It was mostly for flavor and make it look frothy.
I just picture you as like Saturday Night Live's drunk uncle character getting ready for work, saying like fucking wage slave bullshit, making a drink, trying to grind through the day.
I think that's easily one of the better impressions I can do from SNL. Is drunk uncle. Bobby Moynihan actually used to live close to where I live right now. In New York City, but yeah, I'm excited for it. We went to a cocktail bar yesterday. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so cocktails, maybe that can be a segment. John is really good at making cocktails.
All right,
so
I gotta tell you about this one the other day I made. Oh my god, it was so good. So if you've ever had like a Brooklyn sour or or anything like that,
I don't know names of drinks. I just drink them.
Like a whiskey sour. What you can do is put like a red wine floater on top. But then what I did instead is I flipped it and I used a rosé cask whiskey that's delicious for the whiskey sour. And then I did a white wine foam. So it had like this beautiful white wine foam on the top of it. And then it was a a whiskey sour with a rosé cask, and it looked gorgeous.
That's what we got to do. We got to show off
very
stuff
happy
like that.
and excited about it. I'm getting into weird stuff now with cocktails.
This
Okay.
current events.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I love that John's morality minute was just like a heartfelt story about booze.
Thanks for keeping me Thanks for keeping me honest, Sean, about current events.
Oh, Lord.
I don't know. I get excited about silly things. All right. Well, that's it for World Blockchain Roundtable today. Next week's theme is going to be
Cocktails
week was-
on the blockchain.
this week was employment and jobs, right?
That's true.
Yes.
Next week's theme is going to be freestyle. We're going to style it any free way we want. So get in there, ask us your questions. Whatever you want us to talk about, we'll be there. I've got some really fun, silly things that
You could ask about cocktail recipes.
you could. I could.
How
it'd
could
be fun.
blockchain help?
You could monetize your recipes by minting them as an NFT, and if a restaurant uses them, they got to pay your fee.
That will
Or something.
to me that's the same way that like music works, where it's like, yeah,
IP
sure,
rights.
I'll pay you.
Sure.
You can send me all the checks you want, but I'm not going to. Yeah.
You can find my
But-
recipes on the Pirate Bay.
It's so stupid how many gimmick like cocktail books are out there of just like mediocre recipes with funny names, and people buy it as gag gifts. I did not know how much money people spend on stupid things, but it's
that and
amazing.
cookbooks. But it can be interesting. Like, there's that. What is that channel? How to Drink or something.
Yeah.
Like he makes, and there's history though. But there's a lot of history with certain cocktail recipes. Especially in the United States because of Prohibition, and when you learn the story behind what this recipe was and why it was made, and then also there's the different times when something's popular.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with political stuff, and alcohol is kind of cool, or cocktails are kind of cool when you look at it from that perspective.
If you dive deep into it, it shows like a history of it shows your history, kind of like how fashion does.
Yeah.
Right, like what were people wearing during like free love movement, like lots of tie-dye and things like that. But
Or
then
there's like
that's
a
like
TV show or something at a certain time that makes something incredibly popular, like some drink from the 40s comes back in the 70s and everyone's drinking it again.
yeah. And then there's always like different styles and variations. But this is not John's cocktail hour. This is World Blockchain Roundtable. Sorry, I'm the one that went on tangent today. Share this episode. The more you share, the more our host and topic contributors get. Go in there, leave us some comments about next week. It's freestyle, so whatever you want us to talk about, let us know. If you get those comments in there early, I'll start making videos about the comments again. It'll be a lot of fun. My life has settled down a little bit more, so I have time to do that again. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get out of here, but then we'll be right back with current events. Stick around, and we'll see you soon.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.
I thought we were on current events. I thought we were.
Oh, that's what I was like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to end?
Man,
Oh, so sorry.
started talking about drinking recipe. I thought, okay, we're done. The show's over now. We're
It's just a dynamic roll. I figured that. What the hell?
We finally talked about something on the show that I knew about. So I got really just like, look.
I love how like logical your creation was too when you used the rosé cask whiskey and the white wine
I want to
foam.
know
You're
what
like, I flipped
white
it upside down and made a
foam
thing.
is. Yeah.
Must-
It's, I mean, so like, have you ever used like a whipped cream dispenser?
Yes.
It's basically, I did that, but I used white wine to make like essentially a whipped cream.
a nitrogen, like a nitrogen.
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fancy. Scientific.
I know. I got
I
a
didn't know you
picture.
could do that.
Science.
Anybody else got any recipes that they made for drinks?
Not with liquid nitrogen.
Pour
but,
Tito's.
It's not liquid nitrogen. It's just a
my
whipped cream
Zevia.
dispenser.
Okay.
Did you try Squirt and Tito's yet?
No.
You should try that.
Zevia and Tito's.
I made a drink. I invented a drink, and it's legendary.
Yeah.
It's called the Creeper, and it's delicious. It's the most delicious drink you'll ever have. It's hard to make it if it's not like gallons. It has
Sounds like a party.
it's like a quarter straight booze. It's a lot of different alcohol, but it does not taste at all. You can't taste it. It's not. People say that all the time, but they're lying. It just doesn't, punch you in the face. I have literally almost gotten into a physical fight with people because they were giving it to their kids or trying to give it to their kids, like a barbecue and stuff. I'm like, no, man, there's alcohol in that. It's like, no, they're not. Let my kid have it. Why are you not letting my kids have the juice? And I'm like, that's got booze in it, dude, a lot. And they just thought I was being an asshole. But I have the recipe. I put it on my food page a long time ago. But it's like 2 bottles of schnapps, bottle of spiced rum.
I love how your ratios are just done in bottles.
Yeah, it is. It's over a gallon of booze, spiced rum, and a bottle of coconut vodka. And I gotta look the recipe up, but then it's like 2 or 3 liters of mango juice.
That is so much sugar.
I know it. I know.
Yeah, about a cup full of sugar.
Great coma.
I know what you're talking about.
And then
No.
there's a berry juice that Minute Maid makes in gallon. It's a purple thing. It's really, really good. And then
Not found in nature.
2 gallons of the berry juice. And then like a bunch of ice. You put it in I always make it in those huge igloo
Trash can.
they dump on coaches at the end of the game.
Yeah, the big igloo cooler.
5-gallon cooler of that. That's what I make it in. And I call it the Creeper because you could drink gallons of it. If you do not taste any alcohol. It just tastes like fruit juice.
It's enough juice and sugars. It keeps you from getting tired, and it keeps you from
You'll
getting
drink
dehydrated.
and you think it's just and it creeps up on you, and then you try to stand up and
that reminds me of every high school party I ever went to, where there was just the hunch punch, just whatever people pouring bottles of whatever they could get their hands on into a big old bowl of punch.
Yeah, in college we had a similar drink where it just tasted like grape soda, and the trick with those things to keep the alcohol content high and the taste bearable, and it would just literally taste like grape soda, is you use Kool-Aid packets, so you get all the sugar and flavoring without having to add any more water content. But yeah,
No,
also
we
this
did
is
Everclear and grape slushes from Sonic.
exactly that kind of.
Yeah, Everclear is dangerous, man.
Yeah, it would eat through the styrofoam cup if you didn't drink it fast enough.
I got alcohol poisoning with Everclear.
Bad.
And
I
this
told Lisa the story. It's pretty bad.
Bad.
It's my bachelor party. I drank a
Too much?
Of Everclear. In 15 minutes. I drank a quart of Everclear, 20 minutes.
Wasn't a party for very long, was it?
No. I went in the bathroom and it was not fun. I sitting on the pot and I had my pants down around my ankles and I was like, oh man, I don't feel good. And then I just threw up
Oh my.
into my underwear. It's like a bowl.
Wonderful.
So, and then I was like, oh man. And then it hit me. I stood up and I passed out. I fell. My head is a little apartment bathroom and I'm giant. So my friends are all trying to open the door and there's my head. They can't open the door because my head is in front of the door and my body's keeping the door closed. So everyone left. I woke up at 6 a.m. I can't put my pants on because they're full of puke. Puke on everything.
It's the best story ever.
Wait, everyone left? They just left you in a bathroom?
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sean.
Also, so we had Hunch Punch, raw Punch Punch. Also, people asked me to make the creeper. They say, hey, man, can you make that Hunch Punch? And then I'll punch him in the face. And don't you ever call it that. It's the creeper. But so we have Hunch Punch. We're playing quarters. And we have Everclear. So it's my bachelor party. So we'd start off, it's like, oh, drink up, Sean. And then the guy would take it and secretly put in some extra Everclear. And then, you know, my next friend would do it. And everybody was putting a little Everclear in my shot, but no one knew it. So then I went to the bathroom, and they're like, hey, man, when I gave him a shot, I poured in extra Everclear. And it's like, hey, I did that too. Oh, I do that too. And then they're like, whoa, what? And they look, and the bottle's half gone. It was a half-gallon bottle of Everclear. So anyway, woke up, can't put anything on. My friend had a new roommate who none of us knew. I think they got was online or not, or like out of the newspaper, Thrifty Nickel, why they made this. He moved in. So some girl none of us knew walked into her room naked, like, hey, could you have a blanket? And she's like, here, she gives me this crocheted blanket. So this, it doesn't help much. And I just walk out, big apartment complex. It's like 6 a.m, military town. Everyone's going to work. And I was just like, hey, man, how you doing? Good to see you. Drive home out in the country. Finally, I was like, out of the city, back home. I had this gate. You got to get out, open the gate. I'm in the country, so, I leave the blanket, just get out naked, open my gate, and then I hear the noise. Something's coming around the bend, and there was the school bus. All the kids going to school. And I was standing by my neon yellow Ford Fiesta with neon green trim.
I can see why that was such a memorable experience. Yeah,
most 80s car there was. And just they went by and just, how you doing? Yeah, it was pretty rough.
It sounds like the creeper. Great. All right, so this really quick. This is what the cocktail looked like that I made.
So pretty.
That top is like the foam, and then
I
the
thought
bottom,
it was like not that good a foam. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you putting these in a layer? Are these in? Do you have a layer for?
There's
I
a creature
haven't.
comforts layer.
I
Yeah,
haven't
with
yet.
recipes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that should be in
I
either
probably
the food or.
Yeah.
I know there's a beer layer, but there's not a cocktail layer yet.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll probably put something up. Yeah, so this is what like a normal whiskey sour looks like, right? With that foam on top. So that's what
I see.
I made mine like red.
I like whiskey sours.
That's beautiful.
They're delicious.
What's usually whiskey sour and old fashioned?
What's the difference?
You sounded a bit offended when you said that.
I know. I just wanted to make sure
I
I wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. The amount of citrus, and also there's usually like egg white in a whiskey sour, which is what gives it that frothy foam. Where like an old fashioned is booze, a bar spoon or two, depending on your taste, of simple syrup and bitters, and that's it. Whereas like a whiskey sour has like citrus in it, lemon juice.
The bitters.
Yeah. But yeah, all right. So we can do I am for IAM's question, I guess. That might be fair if we want to talk current events.
Yeah, let's pick up on that.
So Elon's hiring disinformation staff for upcoming elections?
Yeah, so this is something that like every big platform has to come up with some way to like either manage or deal with, or in a lot of like depending on what country you're in, comply with certain regulations that require you to monitor communications for certain content and stuff like that. So obviously there's a lot of opinions on how it should or shouldn't be done. So I'm interested. I don't know much about what Twitter's proposing, or what Elon's disinformation staff, how it's going to be made up. But I don't know. Do either any of you know more about it than I do?
I'm shocked at the Trump didn't show up for the debate, which I thought was pretty funny, and it was disrespectful. It was very. And then he did the interview with Tucker Carlson. I don't know if y'all know this, but that was the most viewed interview.
That was the point of it.
But it was the most viewed interview in history, and it was on Twitter X.
You're talking about Tucker Carlson and was it Trump?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and it was recorded. It was from Sunday. It wasn't even live.
I put the recipe for the creeper in the chat over there.
Great. Hey, I am Fram. If you have like a link to, I can't find anything about them hiring disinformation staff. All I've been able to find, and I remember this, is that they fired a whole bunch of people that were in charge of that twice. Once in 2022, and then there was another big stream of layoffs in January as well. And
I was going to say the history of this is that it has not gone well when this has happened. The whole fact checker thing, what he needs to, in my opinion, what he needs to focus on is clearing out the bots and having, which I know, Dave, you even like bots, and I follow a few bots.
Depends on what the bot's doing.
Yeah, depending on
I'm
what
a big
the bot
fan
does.
of the Illuminati bot. I think
right.
It's
I love the
hilarious.
Illuminati bot. I like the health bot. There's a couple bots that I like, but there are some that are just spammer bots.
Well, I thought it was interesting that he was talking about taking away the block feature, which is how so many people get like without relying on the company.
Yeah, I think that's a
those
terrible
bots
idea.
themselves. So I thought him taking away the block feature was a step in the wrong direction when it came to getting rid of that kind of crap.
He said you could still mute them, and this is what I want to, this is a great conversation to have, because is that actually the right thing to do, to take away the block feature? Because then that is more in line with freedom of speech. Everyone should be able to speak. So you shouldn't be blocked, but you don't have to be, you also have the right to not listen to someone if they're being assaulting you, or if you want to walk away from somebody or have privacy, or
if
not
I want to put in
engage
earplugs
with somebody.
that are tuned to the frequency of a particular person's voice, I'll do that if I want to. Kind of
Right.
thing.
So should you be able to mute somebody but not block them? But then there's also like a reason for
other people. You're not infringing on their speech. You're literally just not allowing them to speak to you.
Well, I can tell you how we handle it on DIN, which I think is unique and interesting.
Yeah.
And what we do on DIN is everybody has the ability to, you can block somebody if you don't want to hear them. You can mute them, right? And that doesn't do anything to them, except it just makes, like, anytime they say something, it just, you can still go in and drill into it and expand it, but it shuts them up as far as you're concerned. You don't have to see their noise anymore. But you can only do that to a certain number of people, right? You have a maximum number of people per layer or per community that you can block. And what this does is it forces you to, instead of like just blocking anybody who irritates you and putting yourself into a bubble, and it just gets really messy and unproductive. If you block too many people, you have to go in and unblock somebody before you can block somebody else. So there's that. And then there's also a mechanism where, DIN is anti-censorship, but there is a role for censorship if it's done by the community itself, right? If we're a flat earth layer, we don't want to hear about round earth stuff. We can censor round earth stuff if we want. It's our house. We don't talk about that here, whatever you want, right? But it has to be done by the community itself. So how that plays in is, if a certain threshold, a configurable threshold, a community decides, okay, if 15 individual people block the same person, the same user account, that person gets banned from that layer, not from the whole site, but just from that community. Obviously, they're not contributing in the way that we want someone to contribute into this community. So it is a way for self-governance to moderate without there being a team, like a ministry of truth saying, no, this type of speech isn't welcome here, that type of speech is. The community gets to do that, and it sort of dynamically weeds out people that are either troublemakers or bots that are spamming Viagra sales pitches or stuff like that.
Who decides what's a community? How big the community? Who decides that?
And the community itself, it grows however big it wants to grow, or that it can grow, and it controls its own threshold. So as the community grows, maybe that threshold is increased and everybody votes on it. Okay, let's increase the threshold from 15 to 150 or, whatever, that kind of thing. So it becomes this living sort of dynamic system that is always automatically banning people without an actual human sitting in a room saying, I'm going to ban this person, right? And typically it works pretty well because you can, if there's a problem that needs a faster reaction to that, there is also a way for people to be individually singled out and muted. But that's like a DAO vote. Everybody has a vote on it, kind of thing. It isn't unilateral from the top down. It's more of a, I don't know, a little bit of a hive mind. Like everybody decides, who we do and don't want to associate with. And again, it's per layer, it's per community. So if you're banned like I was in the food layer, you can still talk in the beer layer.
I've been reading about what Musk is actually proposing with the block and stuff, like what's actually going on with that. And it's actually really interesting. What he's basically saying is, if you want to block people, make your account private. So like public facing corporations and stuff like that are, this is my public Twitter account. I can't block people that are going on and being like, hey, you did this or you did that. Like I had this experience with you, because you can just go through and block people that are annoying you, or you can block people that are giving you bad reviews, right?
There's no scarcity in the blocking mechanism, so you can just spam blocks, which screws probably with their algorithm a little bit.
Yeah, you can just block you can just not let people comment on your company or whatever it is.
But then on the flip side, you can't defend yourself as a company if there's like a concerted attack for people to go and give you bad reviews or anything and it's fake. You can't block all those people.
Well, I think that's the whole point, is that like, one, if there's like this is Twitter, so if a bunch of people are yelling about something, like if you want to like not give them a platform to yell at you about, like get rid of your Twitter. Like I don't know what to tell you. And if there's like a group organization that's targeting you, maybe you should see how many fingers are pointing back at you.
When Twitter, I was one of the last things I ever did was started Twitter. I was like, I'm not going to start Twitter, man. I went from MySpace and Facebook, and people made me get an Instagram, and I was like, I'm not getting a Twitter. And then, like when you're in crypto, you have to have a Twitter. That's like where all the stuff happens. And Twitter has become so legitimized. That's how like government entities all over the world now, how they make announcements. A lot of corporations, which we're talking about, don't even have customer service. That's not Twitter. You go to their Twitter and you tweet them, and that's how you get customer service.
The government, like you go to the page and it's like, here's this individual public official's Twitter feed.
You can't say just get rid of your Twitter if you're like a company. It's not a real thing anymore, because it's so necessary in today's world for a company to have a Twitter. Like you can't just say just get rid of your Twitter. So
I think if there is a large group of people targeting you, like that's that organized, trying to bring you down, you probably did something. And I don't feel bad for Hershey's or Mars Corporation.
But like, let's say you're a good, you got 5-6 branches, you have 500 employees. You're a good size bakery. And then you got the whole, you don't want to, make cakes for KKK or for gay weddings or something. And then those groups go, oh, I ate their cake and I got diarrhea and my wife left me. I mean, they just go and it's a concerted attack, which is not fair to your company, because you make good cakes. You just want to decide, for moral reasons.
Is that legal? Can you blatantly lie about experiences to tarnish someone's image and reputation, or is that libel? Or is that
and how are you gonna fight every single one that comes on Twitter? Because we were talking about that earlier too, with like lawsuits, just how much time, energy, and effort goes into them. That's kind of ridiculous to have to fight every single person. Oh yeah, and also like the anonymity that you have on the internet. How do I go find out where Dave Johnson lives because he left me a bad review, right? It's not going to work that way.
Who is Potato Head 512? Let's go
Yeah.
sue that person.
I kind of like it because then I hope that there's more private accounts. I think people should have more private accounts. And I think that should just be more of a thing. Like all the public accounts can just be made private accounts and you accept everybody. And then if you don't like somebody, you delete them from your account.
This is where I think reputations, and this is like to what Lisa and Greg talks about quite a bit, is this idea of like reputations attached to an anonymous identity where like you can, and maybe you wear a flag on your account that displays, yes, this is this pseudonym belongs to the actual person. I think it is. It isn't a new account. And they have this reputation that's attached to them that they can burn if they want and start a new one. But if you start doing stupid shit, people stop taking you seriously because that reputation follows you. Now that doesn't help like solve. There's always problems with that. There's reputation attacks where people get together and they, like Sean was saying, lie about the bakery and say that they always poison us to give them a bad rep, or whatever. But it is, again, it's not a solution, but it makes things at least better than what we have now.
Well, and we're going to need that in the future for the Internet of Things and peer-to-peer transactions. Like I started a eBay store, and there is like this whole algorithm with reputation for eBay sellers that helped. Like at first, like I had a new store and I wasn't getting any sales. And then once I started getting reputation of, quick responses and shipping out my stuff and whatever. Well, now I'm getting more visits on my store, and it's because, and so I've been watching these videos or whatever, helping get more sales. Well, it's because I have a good reputation now. Now the algorithm is showing my items to people more. So it is all about this algorithm and reputation and all that. And I think that will be when we don't have currency anymore, when we are trading peer-to-peer assets with Reggie Middleton's IP, then reputation will be so important because people will have to trust, you'll receive, we'll be tokenizing assets. Mm-hmm. But then when you receive that asset or when you cash it in or however that works, it's going to be like, oh, wait, that's not exactly what I thought I was getting in the deal, and those reputations will be kind of sussed out, I think.
Well, it's like Amazon. I mean, it was for years, there were just fake reviews. And now if you go on, it's just like verified review. Like we know this person bought the product. They bought it from us, it was shipped. So they have that now, but they at least paid to give a fake review. There's been fake. I mean, you can just type in fake reviews on Google and there's price lists and everything you can get.
Wow.
Like you could, my eBay store, boom, put $20 into fake reviews. And I got like 6,000, 5-star reviews. Your app store, all that.
What?
All that. App store
I am so naive about all this stuff.
Yeah, people can just lie.
When I first heard about it, I think it was maybe Joe that told me about it. They're like, fake app store. Like, why would you pay for fake reviews? And then it's like, because if in the app store, if you've got one app that has 300 reviews versus one app that has 30,000, and of course you're going to take, this app. I've seen the same thing with just number of views on a YouTube video. If there's 5 options for the same information, I've seen people do this in front of me, like, oh, just pick the one with the most views. That's probably the good one. Yeah, that's the real one. That's the real one. Yeah.
I mean, I do that with a lot of stuff. Just like, I think it's a safer bet. If like all things are equal, I'm probably going to pick the one that more people have looked at.
Well, this is where the marketplace comes from, where you can now pay to juice the views or juice the subscribers. And that kind of stuff.
I think it's crazy that like we were looking for apartments in New York and there's so many fake reviews and they're obviously just fake reviews. It's like, oh, this person that doesn't live in the United States reviewed my apartment building. And they're like, and what I also don't understand is like, how are they like a Google top reviewer when like everything they've reviewed is not in the country in which they live, which is hilarious to me. So yeah.
So when I was in the hospital in Austin, the admission people came in and they gave me a printout, a piece of paper, said, "Hey, would you give us a 5-star review? Here are, step-by-step instructions. You could scan this barcode and then it'll take you right to it. And then it hit the 5-star. I mean, but if you give that to like a 70-year-old or 80-year-old person, it was like laid out that it was like that simple. So it's important, and it's a hospital.
I think I talked about this maybe like a year ago. Maybe it was on Coffee with Den, but that's how they will review physicians, right? So like you have to, at the end of your experience with a physician, you'll be like, can you rate this physician on 1 to 5? And if you don't give them a 5, it counts as a 1 for these physicians, which is just like, and then that's how they get like bonuses. That's how they can get paid. That's how they get like evaluated amongst their peers, is with these reviews, which is just hilarious to me, because then also there's like bias in reviews. People of certain like genders and ethnicity are usually reviewed more harshly than other people. So like there's just like a built-in bias for these reviews, just for the fact that we're asking somebody to review like the medical care we gave them, when they're probably not intelligent enough to understand the care that we gave them.
That's a big part of just industry overall now. Yeah. You know, when I worked for Xbox, everyone had to, you say, oh, well, there's a survey you get in your email, or there's a survey later on. I really appreciate it. But it's like, if you get a 9 or a 10, a 9 is not even great. 10 is what you need to get. But if you get an 8, and the people take time to put, the person was great, they did everything, but the company policy or the company this or whatever, or the person I talked to last time sucked, so I'm going to give an 8 because they're giving a rating for overall. That you don't get your bonus, you don't get like money that you count on, or even fired, just because if you have too many 8s. Even if, and that's the thing, even if it says right, I mean, they took time and they like typed it out. It was the last person I talked to, or the fact that I can't get a refund after 7 days and this was my 8th day, or just all. But that person was so nice, and they were really, really apologetic, and that person needs a raise. I've seen those, and it's company policy. Oh, it's an 8. It counts. It's like I said, like a 3 or like a 1. There's no difference between a 1 and an 8.
Dave, if you're trying to tell us something, we muted you because you're honestly, we got your feedback and your reviews are too low, so we weren't able to actually let you.
You get a 1.
I was just saying those things are meaningless. It's stupid that companies do that, because why don't you just have a binary rating system at that point? Give me a 0 or a 1, because that's all the company cares about anyway. Yeah,
I think it's insane too that like a lot of these are like, especially like in customer service, like your job is such like a weird line. Especially as like you have no, I feel like there should be like an HR for customer service people. Like if they get cussed at, it's like, I'm going to forward you to somebody else. And there's just like a security guard that's just like, what do you want? And then like, that's it. There's just like one person that deals with those people. Or like you're on the phone, like you have to be super nice and sit there and take whatever they say to you. Like that's awful. And like, we shouldn't be treating each other like that. And it shouldn't be okay just because I paid for a service. I was thinking about that.
It depends on the company, because I'd worked for places where it didn't matter what someone said. You couldn't hang up on them. Yeah. You couldn't say anything. And like I was a supervisor, and I had people who were in tears because someone's like using the N-word, going off on this person, like just saying horrible things.
Yeah, no one deserves to be abused.
They can't hang up. Mm-hmm. They have to take the abuse. So they'll transfer into me, and I would just have fun with it. But then I got transferred I went to work for Xbox, and I got in trouble because I allowed someone to say stuff to me. They're like, why did you let this person talk to you that way? I'm like, because I thought I had to. And they're like, no. And then I found it with Microsoft, it was, if someone called me like, man, I'll kill you if you don't get this fixed. you say, okay, hold on, and you contact the police. You didn't swat it. We're like, here's his address. He just threatened to kill me. You look, you have the area code. You call that police department, or if someone says they're gonna, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill myself. You have to give me this refund. You say, oh, don't do that, and you call the authorities.
It's insane that kind of stuff plays out over customer service calls in the first place.
I had one dude, and he was going off on one of my agents, and then he was like, I will call, find out where you are. I will come down there, and I will take an axe and chop off your head. And I was just like, that's a lot of effort, sir.
It's like Walter or something from the Big Lebowski.
Honestly, first off, I don't think you'd get by security with an axe. You'd have to have some other means of doing it. And like I said, that's just a lot of work. And plus, it's a big building. How are you going to find him? And he just got more incensed. And that's what I would do. I would just have fun with them until they hung up. Because we weren't allowed.
Some folks, that's just cheaper therapy. That's like a rage room, but on the phone.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And if you do it for any kind of Microsoft stuff, go to jail, man.
Noted.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I had, pranksters call up and be like, oh, yeah, I got my dick caught in my Xbox. What am I going to do?
Pranksters.
Like, are you okay? It's like, no, it's stuck in there. It hurts. I was like, are you bleeding? Yeah, I'm bleeding. Oh, okay. Well, hold on one sec. I've got EMS that are going to come out to you. And they're like, what? Yeah, you're still at this address. I'm like, we're freaking Microsoft, man. We have all of your information, And they're like, whoa, it's just a joke. I was like, yeah, it's pretty funny. So you'll have to deal with the police and the, emergency services when they get there. It's pretty funny. I'll be laughing.
That's really
thanks
funny.
for calling.
Oh, man.
Speaking of physical bodily harm, you guys want to talk about Prigozhin? You heard that he died?
No.
Flipping through current events a little bit. The Wagner boss, Prigozhin, apparently died in a plane crash. I threw it up on Den.
Okay, but there was some weird.
There is.
Was it our planes around?
No. So here's what happened. From what I understand, there was a flight where someone named Prigozhin. Apparently, a lot of people changed their name to his name to help him keep his movements vague, so people didn't know where he was. There was a flight a plane that he owned. It was him supposedly, and another founder of Wagner Group on the plane, on the manifest anyway. And it was going from Moscow to St. Petersburg, and it crashed and everybody died. 3 pilots and the 7 people that were on it. So there was a second plane also owned by him that was in the air that turned around and went back where it came from as soon as that happened. So either Russia helped him fake his death or he did. One or the other. And I saw something
was
that
in Russia. I thought it was in Belarus.
No, it was apparently a flight from Moscow to St. Petersburg. It was in Russia. So it would have been Russian forces, supposedly, presumably, right? And additionally, there was a bunch of stuff from Wagner-affiliated Telegram groups. You know how a lot of them, basically that's their official outlet is Telegram groups. They were basically confirming it, saying this is some traitor to Russia, killed boss man, whatever. And now I'm reading something that I don't know if this is true or not, but there's now apparently threats from Wagner Group to avenge Prigozhin and march on Moscow, threatening Putin. So there's this whole thing bubbling up again where this is the mutiny situation, Wagner Group, that was just a couple of months ago. And recently Prigozhin was filmed he was recruiting in Africa. He was getting his forces back together. There's a lot of investments throughout Africa where there's partial self-funding from Wagner Group. And then now he's dead. Now he's gone. This was supposed to be the secret weapon up the sleeve of the Russian army. And now the leadership's been decapitated.
Taken out.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting turn of events. It seems like it was him. It seems like he's either dead or we're never going to hear from him again. So either way, he's out. He's not leading Wagner Group. Whether he faked his death and he wants to live in exile somewhere because he got in over his head or he lost his head, he's out. So anyway, I don't know what that's gonna like.
There's a lot of strange things happening right now.
Yeah. So what y'all think about that?
Well, I mean, he did unthinkable things, and the fact that he lived that long is actually, kind of surprising. He crossed Putin publicly.
Yeah.
And he
the guy who's known for assassinating people.
Yeah, and he like the
yeah, usually
the
poison, but missiles work too. I guess.
Bad guy of or big nations, like Trump says, the big ones, all the big ones. All the the big countries, all the big ones. I was friends with them all. The way he talked is just hilarious. But I mean, legally, it's like I'm sure they could just say, yeah, we killed him. He tried to commit treason. He started a coup. He killed a Russian soldier. There's like all these things they listed that are fine to. I mean, if you're, gay in Russia, they could arrest you. There's so many legal reasons they could have assassinated him, and then called it justice that a Russian wouldn't think twice. But he was that. I mean, he was that kind of that folk hero of Russia, and he had so many connections, so much dirty laundry.
He's like the favored badass, right?
Yeah.
Not that he was doing anything necessarily good, but he was that image of strength of like our
we used to have
mercenary
people like that
team
in the United States, but we don't anymore. I mean, there's no one.
Talking about Blackwater?
No, like Audie Murphy or.
Okay.
Like, what was the okay? Did you
Because that's how I see Wagner is like a Blackwater type situation.
Yeah, they are, but it's okay. So there was a coup that almost happened in the United States, and they used this general. Just watched a movie on it, Amsterdam. It was called Amsterdam. Really good movie. Robert De Niro played the general, and it's a true story. It's crazy, but so this cabal of corporations and heads were trying to take over the United States, and they went to this general, and they wanted to. He was like the head of this organization for veterans, and they wanted him to come out against like these certain political figures, and they paid him like $10 million or something. And this is like right after World War II or right after World War One. But then he double crossed them and went to the government and went on TV and at radio and told everyone what the plan was.
Okay.
And these are
I don't know anything about that. That sounds interesting.
That are still around. Yeah, the fact that it was a true story, and then they had like, at the end of the movie, they had like, the film of like him before Congress, and it's like massive conspiracy, crazy stuff, and it really happened. Like the stuff that we talk about now that they're trying to do, and a lot of things that they've done is things that these corporations were trying to do and control and power that they're trying to seize. But
the corporations didn't take over the country until later. It sounds like they didn't
right.
get away with
They tried to do it more quicker. It was like overnight kind of thing where they took over. Whereas now they just bought. And there's
they just seeped in like a Zerg colony and took over the place.
Yeah, there's so much that's in plain sight now. Where they'll say, politicians are cheap. It's like $100,000 to buy a politician or something. It's not much, but they all admit it. They all admit it.
Thank you for the StarCraft 2 reference there, Dave.
Yeah.
Or StarCraft 1 reference. Whatever you want to say. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, the Zerg were always my least favorite to play, but if you could do it right, you could take over other people's people.
Yeah, you can take over the units, but
yeah.
Also No Man's Sky is on sale, so I'm gonna
good.
I'm gonna go buy that today.
I've been
whatchamacallit's coming out.
I've been playing permadeath for a while. Oh, you talking about Starfield?
Yeah, Starfield's coming
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna have to wait. I was gonna do it. I was gonna do a whole thing.
You idiot! You just got a job. What are you doing? Didn't you tell them Starfield's coming out?
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. I can't take a week off. I gotta wait. It'll, give it time for the modders to fix it anyway, so that's fine. I'm probably not even gonna have my computer with me for a while. I'm gonna be roughing it solo for a while I get integrated into a new place. But yeah, I'll be. I was gonna do a whole thing on Din. Maybe I still will later, but it'll just not be as impactful because it won't be day one release. But I want to play it and play the hell out of it.
All I know is the heist series or the heist session. I don't know, chapter 4, season 4 on Fortnite. My son sent me a video this morning. He's very excited. It's coming out, and it's the heist.
Yeah, I think
they're going to 0 Point again,
or
something. I don't know. He's very excited.
I'm impressed by how successful Fortnite is, and disgusted by how meaningless it is to me.
He loves it,
but that's just because it's not the kind of game I like.
Yeah, he loves it and wants to build maps for it. He's always doing all that stuff.
Esports,
but he's 12.
Man.
Yeah, he's 12. So
I get it. To be fair,
So,
I want to do that too, and I'm a little bit older than 12. I've never even played the game, but that sounds cool. Cool. Anything else we want to talk about with current events? I gotta head out unless.
I want to wrap up with the Illuminati bot because you love Illuminati bot quote. It's great.
I follow it on Twitter.
Roses are red, bacon is savory. The U.S. tax code is legalized slavery.
There we go.
That was a great way to wrap up today. So
I was reading. That's really good. I like it. I was reading someone argue about that specific thing recently on Twitter. And that was really interesting. I forget the whole thing. I'm not going to recite the whole thing, but basically it was just laying out logically why taxation is slavery. And they were like, okay, so if you tax somebody 100% of their wages, 100% of the fruits of their labor, we can all agree that's slavery, right? And everyone's like, yeah, that's slavery, obviously. It's like, okay, but if you're taxing somebody 10%, you're saying that's not slavery, that's taxes. Yeah, that's just taxes. So where's the line? Is it 30%? Is it 80%? And really what people figured out was that we still need slave labor, but instead of taxing a subset, one demographic 100% and using them as slave labor, we'll just tax everybody 30%. And we have the same effect. We just spread out the slavery a little bit so everybody shares in it. And I thought it was interesting. It was like I don't know. It was an illustrative example of why that is what it is.
I put a link in the private chat for that. It's just a little explainer on the movie Amsterdam. And
okay.
So it was right after World War One. It was before World War II. But these businessmen, they were connected to Hitler. They were also funding this new guy, this upstart Hitler. And it happened right as he became Chancellor of Germany. So before he did stuff, but it was after right when he took power, they were trying to overthrow FDR and take over the country in the United States. If this one general would have just taken the $3 million or $10 million and went along with it, America would have completely fallen before everything started. We would have been Italy.
It would have fallen much sooner than it did.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with it.
Would have fallen because we would it would have been us, Germany, and the Italians.
Cool. Thanks for the link. Maybe I'll review it in the movies and TV shows later after I watch it.
It's a really plus Christian Bale, Margot Robbie. It's a good movie.
That sounds good. All right. Well, that's been us for World Blockchain Roundtable and current events. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And join us next week for our freestyle episode. Get in there, ask us questions. Let us know what you want us to talk about on our freestyle episode. I'm excited for it. You get excited for it too. And we'll see you next week.
Beatbox and rap too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what we meant by freestyle. Sean's going to do a 45-minute freestyle rapping session.
I was on a show and all these people were in a band. Like, oh, it was like Greg and all they talk about that. But I was like, yeah, I was in a band in the 80s. It's called Grim Reaper. We had a pretty good hit. They're like, really? I was like, yeah, look at the video. And it's just a fat dude in the 80s. So they're like, I was like, yeah, that's me. That's me, man. Yeah. Like, you look different, but yeah, I guess. It's like, wait a minute. This is like 1982.
You haven't aged.
Oh, I was like, okay.
All right. We'll have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Yeah.